In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, John Payne, he is here in town, and it's showmecannabis.com. It's show-mecannabis.com, and they're holding a conference coming up in St. Louis that will be focused on legalizing marijuana. John Payne, what's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Well, you guys know that I fully support legalizing marijuana.
Well, we definitely appreciate that. You're one of a majority of Americans now, as numerous polls have shown recently.
Well, and there are several reasons why. I'll let you go ahead and handle that part of it, but there are several reasons why. And but one of them, I look at the drug trade, I look at the crimes being committed at our borders, and I'm telling you, it at some point, when it comes to pot and when it comes to what's happening in our prisons and and the loading up of the jails, I mean, it seems to be at this point unnecessary to be collaring people for smoking weed.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think you actually just gave many of my talking points right there.
Oh, sorry.
It's a question of who are actual criminals. That's what jails are for, is for putting people who are violent, mean to do us harm, to get them away from us. And, most people who use marijuana, that's not who they are. They're mostly just peaceful people who happen to enjoy a substance that is not one that society is typically looked upon with favor, but, it's no more harmful than alcohol, and they're perfectly good people.
Now, what happens, though? I mean, because I will get pushback from individuals who will say that essentially it is a gateway drug. That argument seems to be compelling for a lot of people.
I mean, I understand why people would say that, but it's no more a gateway drug than alcohol, than tobacco. Most people use alcohol and tobacco before they use any illicit drug, including marijuana, and most people use caffeine before they use that. And most people ride a bicycle before they ride a motorcycle. But there's nothing that actually compels one to go on to use another substance after they use marijuana. Most people that smoke marijuana never go on to use any other drugs, and a very, very, very small percentage of them ever go on to become addicted to any other drugs. For most people, if they, when they start using marijuana, that is where they stop. That's the only illegal drug they will ever do.
This is an interesting situation because you have two. You're getting some strange bedfellows in this same conference. You're getting Paul Kurtman, who is a fantastic lawmaker, independent, libertarian-minded, Republican from Pacific, and then you have Rory Ellinger, who I've ridden like a rented mule on this program for trying to promote gun legislation, which I completely disagree with. But on this, you have those two sides agreeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm a libertarian myself, and so I don't care for Representative Ellinger's gun legislation, but this is an area where our two sides of the political spectrum can often come together because conservatives believe in limited government and getting the government out of our lives and, making the government smaller. And liberals often believe in personal liberties for things such as this. So, we can work together here and have bipartisanship on something, which is, is nice, but it seems rare. But this is one issue where I think we can actually achieve that.
It's interesting, too, when it comes to what is happening in our prisons. I remember covering this story a while back when I worked at Channel 4, and I'll try to make a long story short here, but I worked at Channel 4. I was assigned this idiotic story to go and see what it's like for Martha Stewart in prison, right? So I traveled actually to the prison where Martha Stewart was, and it was just such pablum. I was just disgusted by it. So I decided to make it into a different story. And what happened is I wound up seeing so many women in these prisons, in these federal prisons, who were there because their boyfriends or husbands were dealing pot or doing whatever. And the feds were enveloping them in the entirety of these conspiracies, separating them from their families. They take the mom and the dad, put them in prison. Kids wouldn't have their mom and dad anymore. The women whose boyfriends were dealing weed out of their house suddenly were enveloped as accessories. And so I found this huge number of women in our federal prisons who were there and never even sold an ounce of pot.
Oh yeah, that's incredibly common. What'll happen is that the boyfriend who actually was selling something will then sometimes testify against the girlfriend, and since the girlfriend actually didn't know anything, she has no one to testify against, and so she ends up not being able to take any sort of plea deal, and she gets the long sentence. And yeah, this is if you want to talk about family values, this is the prohibition against marijuana is something that breaks up families and is a cause of why a lot of people grow up with, one parent or both parents in prison. And that's not good for society on any level.
All you have to do is look in the past to prohibition just didn't help matters, and in fact created an entirely new layer of criminality and criminal underground, and it's exactly happened with pot. People think actually these drug cartels down in Mexico are all dealing coke and that kind of stuff, but it's all pot.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's all pot, but I mean that is the biggest source of their income. So yeah, if we legalize marijuana, it is going to take a massive chunk out of the cartel's income. And Mexico, in trying to fight these drug cartels, is sort of on the verge of becoming a failed narco state. And if we legalize marijuana, that could be grown domestically, and we wouldn't have people, shooting up Juarez over drugs.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that happened to Chicago during alcohol prohibition.
John Payne from ShowMeCannabis.com. When is the conference beginning?
The conference is this Saturday, April 13th at 11 a.m. at the Crown Plaza downtown.
All right. And you can find all the information you need about this effort locally, show-mecannabis.com. John Payne, it's been a pleasure having you on, buddy.
Thanks, Jamie. It was great.
Thank you very much. All right, your phone calls are welcome.
I used to ride. Allman in the morning. Common Sense Radio.
969-9797, 866-455-9797, and lightning round straight ahead.
I used to sleep at night.